All right, Darris, what's up? Welcome to the Collective Good. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad you reached out and invited me. I'm really excited to do this.
Well, you have one of the coolest beards that I know, so I have a lot of beard envy sitting here looking at you.
Not for long.
Oh, yeah? Tell me about that.
So on Leap Day, the last one, February 29th
Okay.
of 2024, I decided I was done shaving. I wasn't going to grow a beard. I just wasn't going to shave.
Nice.
And
It's a bold move.
I just kept going. And during the process, I learned about the World Beard Championships, which are coming to Pittsburgh every 2 years.
Please tell me you're in it.
So every 2 years, they have this competition. So anybody can buy a ticket and enter.
Yeah.
Not like an application. And, you know, as my wife says, she's so proud of me for doing so little to try to accomplish so much. Because I literally don't have to do anything. It just happened. And yeah, so it's in July. And
Amazing. So you could be the world champion of beards?
Could be. There's different divisions. It's such an obscure, weird world that it's just fun. So I'm doing it for fun.
Yeah.
It'd be great to get on the podium, you know, even top 5 in that category. But who knows?
How many people enter that?
They'll have several hundred. They have crazy mustaches and freestyle and all this stuff. They even have competition for women that basically create these decorative beards. They're called whiskerinas. And they do things like with, you name it. I mean, they're using bottle caps or they're using little plastic cars, or it's all, they do themes. They do sports themes. They do, you know, like if somebody was a golfer, they would have a bunch of golf tees. It's just crazy.
That's amazing.
It's a weird, but it's just so obscure. I've done things that are weird before. I was in the Nathan's hot dog eating competition.
You were?
2012. I wasn't in the national one, but they had a regional. They had a bunch of prelims around the country, and anybody could enter. You had to write fill out an application and be convincing enough to the organizers. And so it was in Cleveland in 2011. Almost killed myself in training. And I was like doing the whole training, and I decided about 2 weeks before to have a little trial run, like a workout.
Sure. Makes sense.
Well, my wife stars at work, and I'm in the kitchen at noon, and I decided to go to Kroger, and I bought a couple pre-made hot dogs on the you know, with the light on them, you know, just from the deli.
Yeah.
And I decided to try 2 at once.
Okay.
Set my little timer, start doing it. I'm standing at the kitchen sink, and all of a sudden I start to choke.
Oh no.
I'm like I can't conceive of what's going on, but I can't get air in and I can't get the food out. I'm just, and I think to myself for one brief second, this may not end well.
Yeah.
I had enough sense to think.
Wow.
And then I started to think, well, I live on Henderson Road, very busy street.
Yeah.
I think, well, I could run out and, you know, maybe signal that I, you know, like put my hand around my throat like I'm choking. Hopefully someone knows that's a signal for choking, and get the Heimlich. Maybe I'll get hit by a car and it'll dislodge it, something. And I calm myself and I just say, I'm going to see if I can just get one breath in. And I got in a breath. What happened is I had hyperventilated. I got so overwhelmed with this whole concept. Well, the competition's like 10 days later. I'm freaked out. I can't even eat. So I drive up to Cleveland by myself. I'm in the competition, and I get there, and you know, it's like the real deal. There's like people from around the country that applied. Whoever wins that one gets to go to the national one.
Okay.
So there's some people that are actually already in that circuit, and so we're there in kind of in the back room, the green room. It wasn't a green room, just behind the curtain. And they say, well, we're going to start off with the amateur division. I'm like, well, why didn't anybody tell me? I'm in this for fun.
You're like the pro division?
I'm in the pros. What am I? I just was here to kind of make fun of this whole thing. And so then they trot us out, and I'm just still scared to eat. And I'm next. They introduce us, and my whole theme, like the guys who put it on, these brothers that are just marketers, is what they are.
Yeah.
They work for the Nathan's concept.
Yeah.
And I had my little bio was that I was a runner. And so he starts this elaborate storytelling of this, he'll run around the world for a hot dog, all this kind of crazy stuff. And I come out and I'm just so gun shy. And one of the guys and I'll always remember it, and there's a backstory to it, a guy named Pat Bertoletti from Chicago. He had been a competitor on the stage at Coney Island on TV and all that.
Okay.
And he was always a top finisher. Well, he comes out and they say go, and I can hear the announcer, and Bertoletti is like on number 7. And I've like had 1.
Oh my God.
And I think to myself, well, this is pointless. I'm not going to make myself sick. This is a free lunch, literally. So I just slow down, start putting ketchup and mustard on them, taking my time, had 5 hot dogs for lunch.
Nice.
He did like 28 or something.
Oh my goodness.
He ended up being the winner of this past year.
The whole thing?
No, this past in 2024.
Okay.
Last summer. He was the ultimate. So he's still in the circuit, and I can always say, yeah, he beat me at. So I just like these weird, crazy things. When I was a reporter at the Dispatch, I sort of did stories sometimes that would allow me to be outside of myself. Like I tried out for the Arena Football League.
You did?
It was an open tryout. So I did, and I wrote a story about it.
Oh, that's great.
It was fun.
I love that kind of stuff.
It's just fun, And
Yeah.
there's no seriousness to it. It's just, why not live life and do crazy things? Because pretty sure we're not going to get another chance, at least that we know of. So
yeah.
Enjoy yourself,
Amen. And you empower people to do what feels like a crazy thing to some folks, to run a really long way. So what do you do these days?
So I still run. I'm doing marathons, but I've tried like to expand beyond that to do like health and wellness things that I never would have thought of. Like I always wanted to. I love walking.
Okay.
I started as a walker when I was getting. I ran out of college. I love barbecue, love snacking, and I was starting to get out of shape. And my brother was a runner, so I thought, I'll try this running thing. But I had always liked hiking and walking, even as I was a kid. Went on long hikes with family and enjoyed that a lot. And so as I was running, as COVID kicked around, the Columbus Marathon got canceled, and my wife said, I want to see if I can go run for 12 hours around Antrim Lake. And I'm like, well, I don't feel like running.
That's a lot of times around Antrim Lake.
It is a lot of times. She actually got dizzy at one point.
I bet.
She ended up having to run up and down the bike path for multiple miles because it just kind of was too much. But I said, you know what? I'm going to walk. See how far I can walk in 12 hours. And I had this goal in my mind that I would walk an ultramarathon within the course limit. I had run some of them, but I really don't enjoy trails, and it's a lot of commitment to train to run those kind of distances. But
Sure.
I thought the walking would be more therapeutic, more enjoyable. It'd certainly take a lot longer. And I attempted several of them. And I got up to 50 miles a couple times, got to 60 miles in one of them, but I couldn't get beyond that. My feet were just getting trashed on trails, and it was just taking too much out of me. My energy levels, I couldn't get the food right. So, but I still had this goal. And so I ended up doing an ultramarathon in December of 2024, a 100-miler.
Wow.
I made it within the cutoffs.
You
Which I had
walked it?
31 hours, and I walked the whole way.
Oh my gosh.
And it was it was pretty intense. So
Wait,
long story.
So what is the cutoff?
It was 32 hours, and I did it in 30 hours.
That seems like a very fast-paced walk.
I averaged around 15.
Yeah, that's
I
fast.
can walk pretty well.
That's
I can
a
go out
really
and
good
do
clip.
A 13:30 if I go out on the old Tangy Trail and walk. I can walk pretty well.
For real?
Yeah.
That's some people's running pace.
I know. I just very, very weird. But I'm not doing that weird walk thing.
Those things are wild,
It's
man.
a hike. I call it
okay.
aggressive hiking.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
like
so
that.
I'm still doing, and I'm gonna train for some more marathons. And I just did the Columbus 10K. I like to run. It's
Nice.
But it was it's to me it's just a matter of, it's not about the time. It's about just getting your mind right. And your health and wellness, taking care of yourself. It's I tell you, one of the best feelings is when I walk. After 4 miles, the voices in my head shut off.
Yeah.
I start to enjoy
Yeah.
the part of it. But
I
it
know
takes
exactly
a
what you're saying.
while before you start to even running. I mean, I ran this morning, and the first couple miles, I'm like, I'm gonna quit. This isn't fun. But then when I get around 3 miles or so, I start to feel better, knowing that I'm closer to the finish than the start.
Yeah, yeah.
It's those first steps when you leave that somebody used to have a T-shirt that said the first mile is a liar.
That's
And
a
that's two
great
ways.
saying. That is so good.
It's sometimes you feel good,
Yeah.
and sometimes you feel terrible.
Right.
But if you get past that mile, you can sometimes find get into a better place.
Yeah.
So
2
I'm
week-
not sure what the question was, but yeah.
Oh, I love your answer. It doesn't even matter what the
Yeah.
question was. 2 weeks ago, I ran the Bayshore Half Marathon.
Oh gosh,
Have you been
yeah.
that? Have
I
you
was
done
going
that
to
event?
go this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful, and my family's all from northern Michigan, so I love going up there. And I think it's the 4th time I've run it. But I got a pinched nerve in my neck
wow.
about 3 months ago, and you wouldn't believe how painful it is to run with a pinched nerve in your neck. So I didn't run for literally 2 months.
Yeah.
So I ran your race last fall.
Our race.
And then
It's our race.
our
Collectively.
race. Okay. So I was like, and I mean, I've run a handful. I think this was my 14th half marathon. Wow. So I felt like I could do it, but I had not trained hardly at all.
Yeah.
Like I ran for 4 weeks before the event, and coming in, the longest run that I had done this year so far was only 8 miles. So I was like, I know mentally that I can do this, but I'm just going to, for the first time, I'm not going to try to get a time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run. And that was really hard for me, honestly, because I'm competitive and like, I don't like, my time was literally 20 minutes slower than it was in November. But I will say I felt maybe prouder of completing it because it was more of a mental test than anything. And that's kind of what you're saying, like that whole idea of your mental approach to doing something that's physically taxing like that. A lot of people probably don't even realize how much control you have over things with your mind. What do you think about that as a runner and executive director of a marathon?
Well, actually, it's one of the things that makes me sad is when people that I know are going through challenges in their life and they turn to running or health and wellness things in general, and they get upset with themselves because it's not going well, or they use the words only, but, or slow, which are terrible words to use. When in fact, if they just find the joy in it, it'll actually take the pressure off of them for a while to get away from the other things they're trying to deal with in their life.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just creating another thing that you're feeling frustrated with. It's actually supposed to be a joy, and getting to that spot of that, whether the sweating is kind of an analogy for letting things go. And that's the one thing that just drives me crazy when I know people that, look, there's only going to be a few people that are going to be really good at this. There's been fewer that are going to make money at it. So don't put so much pressure on yourself. Yeah. And that was hard for me. I have a brother who he still is. I mean, he did a 2:26 marathon. That's his PR.
What?
He ran in college.
That's
in
insane.
High school. He's actually going for his 5th decade of sub-3 marathons. He started in the 80s.
Wild.
So, growing up around that and being the older brother, I take credit that the reason he runs so well is because I chased him around as a little kid. And if I ever caught him, I was going to, get him. I'm going to beat you up type of thing. Yeah. And the fact is, so I would always not finding the joy in it. And I've just decided that, look, I can still be competitive with myself and be happy with my times or whatever, but I don't have to be so hard on myself because there's enough other things in life that are hard enough for people.
That's such a good point.
So yeah, I think just finding a peace with it. And again, we're talking about running, but it doesn't have to be running. I mean, it can be the walking, or it can be pickleball. It can be whatever it is.
Yeah.
But don't make it where, oh, I can't believe I lost to Joe again at pickleball or golf. I mean, Christian, how many people hate the game of golf and they keep going?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they wouldn't if they just say, okay, I'm not that good at it, but at least I get to whack something around for out in the beautiful nature and enjoy it, So
I love that mentality. I'm so curious. So, like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
And spent all my formative years there. all, schooling and things like that. Went to college there. I started at the University of Akron, then I transferred to Kent State to study journalism, and then
And did they just announce they're going to Division III? Did you see that? I don't know if that's a
in
real article or
football
not. I don't
or
know.
sports.
I saw it just in sports in general.
It's okay with me. I mean,
Yeah.
because when I was there, I actually won a national. I was a newspaper. I was on the newspaper there, and I was the editorial page editor, and I wrote edit. So got to write editorials, and I won a national contest for an editorial I wrote that drug testing at Kent State for their athletes was pointless because they're clearly so bad that using performance enhancing drugs really wasn't going to make a difference. So just let it go. And I ended up winning this national contest for that. It was awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, it was fine when they, for a while, became, pseudo competitive in the MAC. And basketball, they've done well, but particularly football, it's okay. Just let it go.
So did you study journalism then?
Yeah. So I was in communications at Akron, and my mom had always said, you should go to Kent. You should go to Kent. Your mom's always right. And so I transferred, and I barely got in because I had more than right at the border of half the number of credits to graduate. And it was a very competitive journalism school at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Kent and Ohio U were really
Right.
top school. Bowling Green, I think, as well. And I convinced the guidance counselor or whatever, their advisor, to give me a shot. And so I studied journalism, and it was great. I really was in newspapers at the absolute perfect time. It was kind of the crossover that the first paper I worked up in Willoughby, Ohio,
Oh, yeah.
the Lake County News Herald.
I have family that lives there.
I
My
mean,
wife's
they were
family.
still smoking in the newsroom, and there were still guys there were some, and I never saw it, but I know guys that had liquor bottles in their desks. I mean, the top guy, it was a crazy time. There was a story of a guy who had, in that level of newspapers, you're kind of, it's the training leagues. In baseball, it's the equivalent of the Clippers versus the Indians or the Yankees.
Yeah.
And you cut your teeth in those areas. Where there was a guy who had cut his teeth, got a job at a competing paper at the Cleveland Plain Dealer, which was a no-no.
Oh.
I mean, you don't go to the Plain Dealer, because we actually would come in at 6:30 in the morning for deadline. We were an afternoon paper, and we'd peruse the Plain Dealer. If they had something, we would make sure we had it too.
Huh.
And that was super. I loved that paper. We had so much fun. It was so hard hitting.
That's cool.
But this guy gets a job there. Well, comes back or a couple of years, I don't know how long, asks for his old job back, and the guy's like, "All right, I'll let you come back, but that wasn't cool what you did." Well, apparently the guy was there for a while and then got another offer at the Plain Dealer, left again.
Oh, geez. Back and forth.
Went in to tell the guy, and the guy punched him out.
Yeah.
That kind
That's
of
old
world.
school.
It was old school. And then I was there. I loved it. And again, in a perfect world, if pay didn't mean anything, if every job paid the same, I'd still be there, because I just loved it. But then I went down. I got an opportunity to work in the Tampa Tribune. I was down in Florida, where they pay you in sunshine. So I did that for another great opportunity. I had good, you're always working to get good coverage as a reporter. You're competing against others, and getting front page stories and things like that was really the mark that you'd made it. And I was doing really well, but heard about an opportunity in Columbus, and a friend of mine who I'd worked with at the News Herald was working at the Dispatch, and I had done my senior project at Kent on the Columbus Dispatch. We picked papers to analyze and basically do a report on what ways to improve it, what we liked about it, didn't like it. It was our senior project, and so I knew the paper, and heard about this job. It was as religion reporter.
Interesting.
And I was coming to town for a wedding from Florida to Ohio, and I called up the city editor and asked if I get an interview. He said, we're not going to pay your way to come up, but sure, if you're going to be in town, And it was in September, and I got the job and offer in December. And so, when I did my interview, I'd been to church. I was an altar boy. I figure I can do this, and so I got the job offer, and I really wasn't about to start getting into things that were not of my purview. The good thing about being a reporter, you don't have to know anything. You just have to ask a lot of questions, and you have to be knowledgeable to take that information and process it into a way that is informative to people. So I didn't get into theological things. I wasn't going to start discussing scriptural things because I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
So I really covered religion and the different denominations and different faiths like businesses. Like I had not the financial side of it, but I just, I gave the Episcopalians fair play. I gave the Muslims fair play. I gave the synagogues and the Jewish faith. I just gave them all fair.
Yeah, that's great.
And I covered things from a societal standpoint of what are the churches and religious organizations doing for our community? What are they doing in terms of working with homeless? What are they doing with just different things?
Yeah.
And it was fascinating, and I enjoyed it. I did that for 18 months. Got to meet the Dalai Lama.
Literally?
He came to town at the Columbus Museum of Art. It was crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the thing I took away was he wore, remember Dexter Earth shoes?
Yeah.
He wore Dexters.
He
Because he
did?
put his foot, had his foot up on his knee, and his robe kind of came over his shoe, and I saw he was wearing Dexters. I just thought that was fascinating.
That is fascinating.
And I got to go out to Denver to cover a group of Catholic students from Columbus. There's this thing called World Youth Day, and the Pope would go to different countries, and he came to the U.S., Pope John Paul II. And so I went with 300 kids from Columbus, and we made a pilgrimage from downtown Denver to I forget the name of the lake, but it was a 20-mile hike. It was brutal temperatures, 95 degrees out in Denver. And it was kind of cool because, again, I had been running, and that part of it was kind of fun for me to do this walk. And but it was also just one of the scariest things I'd ever been to because it was in the high 90s, humidity, and there's 500,000 people in this big. Picture Alum Creek, and the beach, and then grass area all around it, filled with people, and they set up a stage at the lake at the beach, and that's where the Pope's going to do this mass.
Wow.
The next morning. Well, it's just so poorly planned. There's not enough water. They're selling water to kids for back then. This is 92, $5 a bottle.
Oh,
McDonald's is the official food. So these kids are just pouring sodium in.
Yeah.
Bad, eating terrible. During the mass, there's just. It was so horrible. You'd see people screaming and calling out, "Medic, medic!" And these people would come in with a stretcher, and they'd grab somebody and throw them on a stretcher and pull them out because it's exposed. Wow,
that's wild.
I actually found there was all these like ancillary stages around in the back. I sought shelter. I went under and hid.
Smart.
to get shade because it was really scary time. I mean, very, very powerful, but also very scary. And it wasn't like, it just wasn't thought out well.
Yeah.
And, again, events can go really well or they can go very badly.
Yeah.
And that was one. So,
what do you think about journalism these days? And it's changed a lot
Yeah.
since you were a reporter.
I mean, again, I as I was saying about being in the heyday, it also was the heyday of the spending in terms of they treated us well.
Yeah.
I got to travel the world covering trade missions, and you got to just, whether it was the investigative reporters that we had on staff or the police beat guys or whoever it was just, we had the resources and we had the access and we had the respect of people that were willing to, some people didn't want their story told. When the investigative reporters are doing it, but they also had the power of the press behind them. Mm-hmm. And now that's really been lost through challenges or legal things, but also it's just kind of the bad guys who don't want their stories told just had to wait for the internet to come around because it went away. And there's just no real storytelling. And it's not just the investigative side and all that. The storytelling, the stories that you're telling, there aren't a lot of people that are doing that are spending the time to tell the stories of our community, tell of people. And it's where I get excited when I see things that in some cases local news is coming back.
Yeah.
Like, you said you grew up in Worthington, and there's the Worthington newspapers. The local papers are great.
Yeah.
They're telling the stories about Little League, or they're telling stories about high school sports, and they're telling about the farmers market and the stuff that's important to us as citizens. Mm-hmm. And there's, maybe there's not as much about the corruption or the bad things. but at the same time, I'm glad that we're still getting stories told about our life and times, you
Yeah.
know. And it's not all bad internet. It's not, but the dependence that had been so great upon those institutions of journalism, whether it's, you know, the big newspapers or the TV or the radio, the news channels, that has kind of faded away. But there has been an influx of some backfill of good storytellers, which is nice.
So how in the world did you get into the Harley world? I'm so confused by that.
Oh, I know. So I had wonderful opportunity in newspapers. Like I said, I was traveling the world doing great things, and I wanted more. I wanted the opportunity to stay in the business, but to grow. And in the industry, in the journalism world, you either move up or you move on. And I had done that. I had been at the News Herald. I'd been down in Florida. I'd been at the Dispatch, and I wanted to become an editor. And the way the structure was, let's say there was 30 editors, copy editors and news editors and the managing editor and all that, and you had 300 reporters. Well, the way you moved up was somebody at the next level had to move on.
Okay.
And either through leaving or, you know, something unfortunate or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I went into the editor's office one day, Bob Smith, and I said, Mr. Smith, you've treated me so well. I think I just had gotten back from like Hong Kong or Tokyo with Mayor Lashutka, and I just did really wonderful opportunities. But I want more. I want to move up. I want an opportunity to contribute more. And he's sitting across from me, and we're in his office, and he says, you know, we think very highly of you, and, you know, we're very, very pleased with all your work. You just need more time. And I'm sitting across from a guy who's getting ready to celebrate his 50th anniversary in that business.
Oh, jeez.
He started there as the elevator operator at age 16.
Wow.
And I just said, boy, to myself, I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
And so I'm vexed. What am I going to do? And
Right.
it's springtime of 1995. Pull into the parking lot of the Wigwam. You remember the Wigwam?
Oh, yeah.
The Wolves owned it.
Yeah, very
then.
cool.
And it was we would have an annual retreat. It was they called it the news clinic, and all the reporters and editors and staff would come out there for this informational thing. We'd come out, we'd have lunch, we'd have guest speakers, and it was just a really good way to kind of bond with everybody.
Yeah.
And I pull into the parking lot of the Wigwam, and true story, believe it or don't, and I'm just like, God, I need a sign. What is going to happen with my life? I had just had the conversation with Mr. Smith, and it didn't go well because he wants me to have more time. And I don't know what to do. I had sort of considered doing different things, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I walk into the news clinic of at the Wigwam, and I emerge as chair of next year's clinic.
What?
Because every year a staff member, a reporter, editor, whatever, would get chosen to lead the event, to organize it.
Interesting.
And I am now chairman of the 1996 clinic. So I got my sign, and even more of a sign is, and my assignment is going to be to plan the retirement send-off for Mr. Smith.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm stuck.
That's wild.
So I plan this wonderful event, do this send-off and all that in 96, and I go in on, still remember, Red, White, and Boom, 1996, go in and put in my I give him 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, to Mr. Smith and let him know I'm shipping out. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to start my own PR marketing business. I had been laying the groundwork a little bit during that spring of 96, asking people like our good friend Sarah Irvin and others, who Sarah actually knew. I met her when I was a reporter. She was actually had just starting to cut her teeth in the PR business, working for Chan Cochran Communications. She would pitch me stories. And that's how I got to know her.
Awesome.
And so I got to be good friends with her. Different people, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think if I did that? You think, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It'll all open up for you. Just, take the leap. So I took the leap, put my notice in on Red, White, and Boom, went and watched the fireworks. It was awesome. And then at the end of July of that year, August 1st, started my PR company.
Wow.
And I hustled some clients and got some things going, and some crazy little projects here and there. And one of them was a company that was it was early in the internet days of medical information going online.
Okay.
And it was a guy who I had met through the newspaper. He was down in Florida, and I started doing some work. My first project, I flew down to Florida to meet with him and writing some press releases and all that. A couple other projects. Well, that guy, it's all well and good, and then he decides they're going to go public. Well, they have a quiet period, so I'm out of business with him because worst thing for a PR guy. Well, we can't have anything.
Yeah, right.
So I lose that. Had another guy who was opening warehouse clubs in Russia. Crazy.
What is that?
I met him. He lived in Granville. He was an attorney downtown, and he was getting this thing off the ground. Well, it didn't go, and he paid me a retainer. It didn't go well for him. He actually asked me if I could give him some of his retainer back because he was going out of business. So I gave him money back. Well, again, August to December in the marketing PR business is the worst time to be getting clients because everybody already spent their budget.
Right.
Come back in January. Come back. I am down to my last $200 to my name.
Oh no!
In December '96, I've been in the business for 5 months. 4 months. I'm already going out of business. Because I had a little office. I did all this stuff right.
Yeah.
Got all my brochure, got all my materials and that. And I'm thinking clients are going to be having it. But I lost my first 2 clients. January rolls around and phone starts ringing. I start hustling, start getting things going, and I was able to go very strong for a number of years. Feast or famine. You're either doing great or you're just panicking,
Yeah.
And then another retainer check comes in. All right, I'm good for another month. And I was able to really piece things together and things were going real well. Well, I had a motorcycle. My first vehicle as a kid at 16 was a motorcycle because I didn't have a car. My parents, I came from lower middle class at best. My dad owns a body shop, so I was around cars, but I couldn't afford one.
Yeah.
And so I had a motorcycle. I'd been around motorcycles. And so I wrote a letter to the owner of the Harley dealership in Columbus. And I said, actually before that, one of my clients was a well-known body shop chain here in Columbus.
Okay.
And like business entrepreneurs, they don't like to pay freelance fees. I had grown up in that business. I knew that business really well.
Yeah.
So he convinced me to come on board and become his marketing director. So for 18 months, I was the director of marketing for that company and had a lot of fun. It was also pretty chaotic. And needless to say, one of my favorite stories of working for others was my quitting story. I knew our personalities weren't going to mesh well, and I had a little desk and a little office, and I had nothing in it. I would take a photo of my wife and put it on the desk each day, and then I'd put it in a little backpack and take it home. And this was going on for months, and it was going fine. We were doing well. We were doing really well. The business was doing great, but it just was kind of it was either highest highs or lowest lows. Mm-hmm. First time he blew up with me, I said to myself, I'm going to remember that. Second time it happened, I said, I not only remember that, next time this happens, I'm going to do something about it. Third time it happens, I go into the office and recount the fact that, this is the third strike, the third time this has happened, and I am going to say goodbye. And I had a company car. In that business, you take in wrecked cars. My dad did it. You'd fix cars.
Yeah.
He'd sell them or or whatever, or your family car becomes the 1973 whatever that was wrecked and it found on found in the paper and fixed it up. So I had this company car that was mine to drive around, and I took the keys and dropped them on his desk. And he says, "Well, you can take the car to get home." And I said, "I'd rather walk."
That's such a line. I love it.
And it's
like a movie.
It's far away from home. And I hadn't thought that out. And I start walking. And I am down in the south side of town. And I have a little flip phone calling my wife. Well, she's at Ash Wednesday services.
Oh, geez.
It's Ash Wednesday of that year.
Perfect.
I can't get a hold of her. So I'm still walking.
Oh,
I finally get a hold of her, finally get picked up halfway into my walk home, and never talked again.
wow.
But I also had the opportunity. I was able to kind of do freelance when I was working there. I was actually doing a lot of work with Cliff Bar. That was kind of the marathon side of things.
Oh,
That
cool.
I can get into that. But I had written a letter. I wrote a letter to the Harley dealer in town, and he liked it. And it was basically was a letter to help him do some stuff with outreach of some sort. And like the other guy, he didn't want to pay my freelance fees. Hired me to come in house,
Yeah.
and I was able to do some freelance. And that kind of goes back to the marathoning side. So when I was at the when I came to Columbus in '91 to join the dispatch, I did my first marathon in Columbus.
Oh,
I
cool.
trained and did it.
So the event that you lead was
Actually
the
my
first one you
marathon.
did. That's really cool.
And it was my brother's first 5 years earlier.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so when I was at the dispatch, I convinced the editors to run the results of all the finishers in 1995 who were, because it was a big year for people trying to qualify for the 100th anniversary of the Boston Marathon
Okay.
in '96. And I was fortunate enough to have qualified. But we
Nice.
ran the results, everybody who finished that year in the paper. And
That's
that was
fun.
really cool.
That's really cool.
And so from there, I'd run a couple other marathons, run Columbus a couple other times, and I went to Chicago in '98 and with a good friend of mine. And I'm in the starting area, and I see these people holding these signs with balloons or signs with times on them, and I'm like, "What in the heck is that?" And I learned it was called a pace team.
Yeah.
And it was people that would set a time. If you want to run 3:30,
Love those. So thankful for those guys.
yeah, well, so 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So I come back to Columbus and go to the race director at the time, Mike Collins, who I became later.
Wait, I didn't know Mike was the director of the race.
Mike Collins was the
No
race
way.
director. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
keep going.
I go to Mike and I say, hey, Mike, I knew him because I was a reporter and I got them to run all the results and all that stuff. So I had this sort of ancillary relationship there. And I said, I saw this thing in Chicago. It's called a pace team, and these people carry signs and people follow them. And he's like, well, that's a really great idea. If you can get a sponsor, we can do it. Mike was always hustling for sponsors.
Yeah.
That guy was,
He's the ultimate. I love
he's
it.
the ultimate, man. And I'm like, oh, geez, what am I? I hate sponsor. I hate going after dollars. I still, to this day, there's newspapers, when I had a newspaper route as a kid that I still didn't collect from. I just couldn't go to
wow.
people's doors and ask for money. I hated it. My dad would just have to kick me out of the car and watch me go up to ask for the money. So I wasn't good at hustling money. But I started thinking, all right, who in this town has money? What companies are successful? And B, have any interest in running or a background in running. And I remembered a guy who, number one, they were a great marketing company and still are. And the guy ran. So I set up, I make the call. Now there's no internet. You don't email somebody. I had to call.
Yeah.
And there was internet, but it wasn't like that. And it wasn't as prevalent. And I make the call and I get the appointment and I meet with Bill Ingram, the chairman of White Castle.
Wow.
And he loves the idea.
So
and he's
cool.
like, if my people like it, if my marketing people like it, we'll do it. Well, of course, if the chairman likes it, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so we came up, and I had thought about what could we call this thing that he would love, the Striding Sliders, the
So
Striding
good.
Sliders pace team, and we were off and
so
running.
good.
So I did it for Columbus, and then the next spring, I ended up doing it at the Pittsburgh Marathon during the Olympic trials year in 2000. I had done it at got to do it at some other races as well. Met my wife at the Pittsburgh Marathon in 2000 and did some other pacing. And then she and I were sitting down and like, well, this pace team, we did Columbus again as a pacer, did Flying Pig, did it for a few other races, and met a guy from Cliff Bar. Because I was also selling, I got to go back. So in '99, when we did the first pace team, I recruited friends and friends of friends. And this guy comes down from Cleveland. His first name was Jerry. And he had typed on a typewriter these little bracelets for the pace leaders that were a pace chart, a split chart.
Oh, cool.
So it told us where we needed to be at every mile. So
Nice.
if you were running 3:30, 8:01, that way at mile 17, you didn't have to do the math in your head. You just look at your bracelet. Well, I'm like, Jerry, this is a really cool idea.
It is a good idea.
What are you going to do anything with this? He said, what do you mean? I said, these could be sold.
Right.
He's like, oh, my girlfriend would never let me do anything like that. And I'm like, do you mind if I take the idea and do something with it? He said, be my guest.
Huh.
So following Columbus, I research companies that could make these. And I think we need to be waterproof. So we'll make them out of Tyvek. So I get 50,000 bracelets made.
Oh my gosh.
Of all the different Boston qualifying times. And I put together this little package.
That's so cool.
And I go to my Runner's World calendar. What's the next biggest race that I have time to get these made and could go to? And it's the Honolulu Marathon.
Oh, tough work.
Well, remember, it's already November. So I got to find a flight, which is like over $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
The hotel is 5 nights in Waikiki,
Oh.
$2,000. I got to get an expo booth, all this stuff. And I've just got $7,000 worth of product and signage and all this stuff.
You're in the hole, big
in the
time.
hole and I'm all in. Because not only have I done that, but in the meantime, I've been on the phone. I've signed up for Disney Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Houston, Austin, LA, Boston. I've already put down payments on. I mean, the Boston Marathon was $2,000 for a 10 by 10 booth.
Oh my goodness.
I've made reservations and airfares. I'm in.
Yeah.
And I get to Honolulu, and it's pouring rain, and it's an outdoor. It's at the Waikiki Hotel, a swimming pool where the expo's around that. Oh. It's raining down this stair. I'm at the bottom of this staircase. Gosh. It's rain is just running in rivers down this, and I'm kind of underneath this thing, and people start coming in from, I had signs made in Japanese because it's like 40% of the race is Japanese.
Oh, really?
And I had 3 signs made of price. I don't even know what to charge. It's like $1, $2, $3. So I put the $3 sign out. And people are like, well, what is this? And I explain, it's called a pace band. It's you wear it on your wrist and you wear it and you look at it when you get to a mile marker. Well, I have a watch. I know you have a watch, but you compare it.
Yeah.
And well, I don't need it because I have a watch. And besides, it's $3. I don't want this. So I'm like, all right, so this is not going well. So I switched to $1. And people are like, what is it? I go through the spiel, explain it all. I'm like, well, it's only $1. Does it even work? It seems kind of cheap. So I switched to $2. And my first day, I made $36.
Okay.
It didn't even pay for the coffee at the hotel.
Right.
I'm like, what have I done? Remember, I've already so overspent.
Right.
And it's December, again, I got to start hustling clients for the PR thing, and it's just not going well. Next day, I doubled my sales, to $72. Third day, I maybe made over 100. And I had so many 1s and 5s. When I got to the airport, I took it to a money exchange thing, and a lady gave me $20 too much accidentally. I didn't even know it till I got on the plane and I counted it.
Wow.
But before that, I run the race. I had signed up for the race. I ran the race again, pouring rain. So 5 days in Hawaii, it rained the whole time.
Oh, bummer.
I come out of the hotel and I got to go to the airport. No taxis, and I'm just, again, remember, I've been so in the hole. There's a guy with a limousine, and he's like, going to the airport. I said, yeah. No one else is leaving. Everybody else is having fun. I'm just going home. He said, well, $100, and I'm like, at this point, I might as well. So that's the first time I was ever in a limo.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I spent 1/3 of my profits, or proceeds, not even profits, to go to the airport. But it was a great story, and I got a good story out of it. So long story short, I met the guy from Cliff Bar. I was doing some branding of those pace bands for Saucony, for a few other races. They were branding them, and we were putting their logo on them. Well, Cliff Bar saw them, and so Cliff Bar guy took it back to his people, and he saw that I was doing a pace team for somebody else at this race where they were doing sampling of Cliff Bar. So he took the whole message back to his people, and they contacted me, and so Star and I put together this proposal, and we started the national pace team for Cliff Bar. We did I think 5 races that first year, and started doing that. It developed into a relationship of 17 or 18 years. We were doing up to 15 races a year, traveling around. We had 30 people that were our pacers. We would take 11 of them to different races. And it was real great, but it also that's how I learned about the business, the industry.
Okay.
I was going to races around the country. We're talking LA and Marine Corps and big races, the Disney series. I got to see the back end of expo planning and
Wow.
marketing and all that. I was still working for the Harley dealer, so I was putting on events all the time.
Yeah.
And it just really exposed me to all that stuff. So in 2006, Sarah Irvin, again, back to her, she was doing PR, which she still does for the marathon. And she asked me if I'd help her out with marketing for the race. So for 3 years, I was doing the marketing. There was a company here in town that was running the event, and I was on their team. And in 2010, there was an issue that the board decided to go in a different direction. And I knew all the board members. Not only had I done the marketing and done all been around it with the pacing and the pace bands and all that for a number of years, I just knew them. And one of my very good friends was the guy in Chicago when we saw the pace team. And long story short, I knew board members, and they asked me if I would be interested in becoming the race director because they knew the background and all the stuff I was doing with Cliff and all this stuff over the years, and the event background. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So that was in May of 2010.
Okay.
And not a lot had been done for the race. And I there were some other people on the team that I think wanted the opportunity to become director.
Sure.
And they gave me the opportunity. And first thing I did was gave everybody a raise. It wasn't like I didn't pay them off. It wasn't, the budget wasn't there. You know, the way it's set up is I'm a contractor, they're contractors to me. The board's a nonprofit, and they have a set amount of money they have to manage the event. And I'm like, boy, I'm going to give up money that I would earn to these people because I want them on my side.
Yeah.
But we've also got a giant hill to climb because not a lot of the work's been done. We've got to really hustle to get this thing in order. And so we and I was in the trenches with them, and they knew me because I'd worked with them for a number of years.
Yeah.
But I've never been a person that as a leader who stands back and lets other people work and tells people what to do. I'm in there picking up trash with them. I'm doing the same things, and shoulder to shoulder, we got it done. And but it's funny because I took that over, May or June, in May, and it must have been April, May, and June. I'm still at the Harley dealer.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm going to do both. How hard can that be? Well, remember, running is people are just getting ramped up for the marathon in the springtime for the fall race. Motorcycling is a spring and summer and fall activity. Well, now all the activities and you knew when we didn't get into it, but that's how we met when I was at the dealership. And there's events going on all the time that I'm planning. Well, I went into the owner and said, look, it was June of 2010. I said, look, I can't do this. You know my passion. You know that this running, and I really want the opportunity to help this organization really do some good things in the community. And he was super understanding.
Yeah.
And so I gave him at least 30 days, if not 6 weeks notice. I didn't want to leave him in a lurch and just say, I got to go.
Yeah.
And so I positioned him well and got him in position. But anyway, it's just, so that's how it all ties together.
So you've been doing it for 15 years now?
Yeah, since 2010. So
wow.
I've done 16th. This is my 16th year, 15 races because we didn't have it in COVID. But we were ready to go. We did all the planning up through June until we had to cancel of that year. But yeah.
So, and it's a huge race, all right? I mean, how many people run?
So it's we've had as many as 18,000, which is too many.
I mean, that's insane.
We've learned when there's the Venturi effect, which is how wide the start line is how wide the most narrow street can be in the early miles.
Oh.
Because when it used to start on Broad Street, it was 80 feet across.
Yeah.
And it made the first turn in Bexley, which was 40 feet across.
Yeah, I remember that.
We put a video out there to learn what was happening. And when you saw people on the sidewalks and practically in people's yards, this is too much.
Right.
So we narrowed down the start. And there's actually this scientific thing, the Venturi effect.
Interesting.
You can actually study it. Huh. And I learned this from a guy who's on the team who does all of our architectural designs and planning and maps it out. He owns a company in town that does designs for restaurants and businesses, and that's his specialty.
Okay.
And so, one thing I try to do with people on the team is use their skill set. that's his job. He understands how to do this. So he does all CAD designs of our start and finish, our
That's
expo.
cool.
So, and that's for him. That's just a day at the office, literally. But back to the size of the event. So our sweet spot really is in that 14 to 15,000 range.
Okay.
And we were kind of right before COVID, the industry was kind of slowing a little bit. Running was we'd gone through a big boom in 13 and 14, and then it was kind of tailing off a little bit. And then COVID came, so we went to zero. And then we came back to be about 6 to 7,000 in that first year between the half and the full, about 60% of where we wanted to be. And then we a little bit more. So when we've sold out the last few years, that's in that sweet spot of getting back into the 13, 14,000. And again, for 2025, we're aiming for 15. And that really is where you want to be for an event like ours. Top 20 to 25. That's all well and good, but it's the quality. We are a high caliber event,
Yes.
high quality event, but you don't do that by just going to put people out there. You've got to focus on the event. And that background I had of going to races around the country, the team members, most if not all, have run the event before.
Yeah.
The board members, most if all, have not run it. So we all just take things that we like at other events, and we ask people in the community, what's something that you've liked at a race that you thought is cool? We'll incorporate it into ours. The reason we have fireworks is because the race used to start at 8 a.m. before I got involved, and there was a flyover from the Air National Guard because they can do it when sun rises at 7:45.
Yeah.
Well, when they moved the race to 7:30, it was, I think, maybe the year or two before I got involved. You couldn't do the flyover. Well, I'm like, well, what are we going to do? Let's do something cool.
Because it was dark?
Because it was dark.
Yeah,
Because sun didn't start till 7:45.
Yeah.
So I remembered from Disney where it has fireworks. So we have fireworks.
Oh, that's great.
And it's just awesome. And people don't even think how it had a play, had to be born somewhere, had to be created. And now it's just a regular part of the race.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part of your race is the patient champions.
Yeah.
I mean, so explain to people
Yeah.
what
So
that
what
is.
happened was 2010, the race, we worked with charities. We worked at team and training. We did some things at the time, I think, the Charity Newsies, some others. People could run for charities. We just didn't have any other connection to it. And it was encouraged. It was, not just team and training. Well, Ronald McDonald House. Ronald McDonald House was one of the teams that we didn't solicit funds on behalf of the charities, but charities could go and fundraise on, people could do it on their behalf.
Yeah.
Well, what happened in 2011, Nationwide Insurance, the folks there came to the board and said, hey, we would like to see, is there a way that we could take our partnership, which has been since 1980 when the race started with
Oh,
Nationwide.
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were in the very beginning.
Cool.
But is there a way we could do something on behalf of the hospital? So it kind of was sort of making it up as you go along, some brainstorming, and that's where this partnership with the hospital in 2012 came about. And it was you couldn't do what Pelotonia did, which was start as a fundraising entity. It was in year 31 of the marathon.
Right.
So you weren't going to go to people and say, well, you can't do it unless you fundraise. But how do we get people to fundraise? So that's when they came up with this idea of designating each mile, having a kid from the
That's
hospital.
so cool.
And that was, so that's how they could get sponsors. So
Yeah.
companies around town sponsor a mile.
Smart.
And all that money goes to the hospital. We get none of it as an
Yeah.
event. And then they also then said, well, let's get people to do fundraising. Now, not everybody's going to do it.
Right.
Like it started out like 2%, 3%. I think it's 6 or 8%. I mean, just to continue to grow that. But those fundraisers are the other side of where that $1 million a year comes from. Now, what's nice about it is like an iceberg. The above the water is kind of a set amount. Sponsors are only going to take you so far.
Right.
There's only so many companies that want to do this, that care about this, that have an interest in health or wellness or the hospital. Not every company, that's just not their thing. Or they're sponsoring other things. But the below the water is those fundraisers. It's unlimited.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 5% or 10% now. That gives you, maybe you can get to 30% of the field. You're never going to get 100% of anything. Some people just don't have an interest in it, or they're supporting other things, which is great. But if you can grow that can go from that 1 million a year to 1.5 or 2 or whatever it is. And what's nice about our event is our funding for the event side as the nonprofit Columbus Marathon comes from registration. We get a little bit of sponsor dollars, but we get a lot of stuff. White Castle, they give us some sponsor dollars, which pays for things like the pace team and the bicycle jerseys for the escorts and bike escorts, but for the elites. But really, their big support, they sponsor the kids run, which is free to families. But then they also give us 100,000 or 200,000 water cups.
Yeah.
And they give us the
Huge.
bags for the food. They give us stuff in kind. Gatorade doesn't give us money, but they give us all that product, the drink.
It's great.
Drink mix, and the 100 or 200,000 cups, which is stuff we'd have to buy. So by getting that in-kind support, and the hospital helps us find food sponsors that, whether it's snack foods at the finish line or bagels or whatever it might be, bananas and so forth. So we don't need the dollars. So registration comes to helps us pay for the race. And people are like, well, can I get a discount? Can I get, can we get, how come you guys don't do discounts? Well, remember, we've got serious expenses.
Yeah.
If we gave you a discount, I can't go to the police and say, hey, police, can you give us a discount on the $200,000 we spend on
my
police?
gosh.
They're not saying
That's how much it is? Oh, wow.
They're not saying we'll give you a few grand.
Yeah.
I can't go to the bathroom. The bathroom guy already gives us a deal.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of bathrooms.
500 restrooms.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or the guy who's doing our traffic control, trying to close off 26 miles of streets.
Yeah, that's hard.
I can't go to them and say, hey, can you guys cut us a deal? They're fair to us, but they have employees to pay.
Right.
So long story short, and people are always asking about these discounts, it's not that we are mean or greedy, but we've got some serious bills to pay.
Right.
And again, it's that quality. If we cut certain things and discount it, then you're not going to get entertainment on the course, or you're not going to get, the kids aren't going to get the free run. We try to do things that we can to be fair and equitable, but we also have significant costs for the quality. And we're proud of that. And so it's not a matter of being mean or greedy. It's a matter of costs have gone up, inflation, everything has gone up.
I can imagine.
At your grocery store or whatever. So, so anyway, it's just, I like to bring that up that what's important, but beyond that, the marathon board has donated through proceeds. We don't get money set aside that we can then do proceeds for the hospital, but they've donated 1.4 million of that money back to the hospital.
Wow.
So it really is.
That's
when
great.
someone signs up for the race, their money, part of it, does contribute.
That's really cool.
Over 100,000 a year of that money goes back to the hospital.
That's so cool.
The 14 million, 10% has come directly from the board.
Wow.
So it really is a matter of you are giving, even if you don't do any fundraising, you're still contributing.
Well, okay. So my last question always is, this has been so great, by the way. But I like to kind of fast forward. So let's just imagine, 30 years from now, you're kind of looking back and considering the impact that you've made. What do you hope the legacy is that you leave here in this community?
It's funny because I thought I'd be done at $10 million because I thought 10 million was just a huge thing. And we hit that pretty quick in 8 years or 10 years, whatever it was. And so, but it's not about the financial part of it. It's what I'm so proud of. And that the legacy that I would think would continue, I would hope would continue, is not just about the partnership of helping this wonderful community resource in Children's Hospital, and knock on wood that all of that remains in place. But we've helped to establish the Columbus Marathon as a community event, not a running community event, because it used to be. Again, there was a little bit of funds given towards charities, helping charities, but it was a bunch of crazy runners and walkers, kind of a selfish endeavor. And running and walking, all these things, they are somewhat selfish.
Sure.
You're taking time away from your family if you're going to go train,
it's hard.
Or it's all about you. And hey, it's funny. You see all these memes and stuff about you don't have to ask a marathoner to tell you about it because they will. It's invariable. But what's happened is, we used to get terrible complaints oh, I can't get to brunch, or I can't get to this, or, the music is too loud, or whatever. Um, Never had a complaint about trash because we work so hard to pick up.
Wow.
We make such an effort to pick up the course. We leave the course better looking than it was.
It's great.
But it's all of a sudden now, the complaints now that we partner with the hospital have dropped to pretty much zero.
Oh, wow.
And now people do the race and they're like, I'm not even a runner or walker, but I love helping those kids.
Yeah.
Or I'm not a runner or walker, but I support what you guys are doing. And all of a sudden it's changed the tenor of the feel for the event of it's a community event. Every bit as much as a arts festival or which supports wonderful causes and the arts, or Red, White, and Boom, or just these celebrations. It's this thing. Sure, it has to do with running, and it's a sacrifice to train and prepare for it. But we're on the same. We've changed our status like a Pelotonia, and maybe Pelotonia has helped with that kind of messaging across the board, where an event it's a cycling event. It's a health and wellness event, but it's a greater good. And, since 2007, it's kind of changed that thinking. And so I think I'm most proud that we've become that event where it's a contributing to the fabric of our community. So
that's amazing. Well, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything that you do for our community. And I wish you the best of luck with that beard competition. I hope that you win.
Well, so one thing I'm a big proponent of is getting yourself checked for your body checked for dermatology. I do an annual check, go to the dermatologist and do the annual body, Look, I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. I spent a lot of time outside in the sunshine and we'd be playing all day and, we didn't know what sunscreen was as kids, and you'd get a sunburn and your mom would try to soothe you, whatever. And then growing up in high school and college, being out, going to spring break and doing that stuff, we didn't pay attention to that stuff. So I've always thought, it's better to just stay. Long story short, since I haven't shaved for now 15 months, I have no idea what's going on under here. So my birthday's in middle of July. The day before my birthday, I've scheduled I postponed my checkup from would have been in June to July, or would have been whenever it was March or April, but I postponed it to the day before my birthday. So that morning, I'm buzzing my hair and shaving it all off.
Wow.
Going in for the checkup.
I love that.
And then we'll see where I go from there.
Can't wait to see the before and after. I love it. Well,
but thank you so much. Look,
I
appreciate so much. I knew talking you would be really insightful because you're an insightful person and you've got a wonderful background. You've done a lot of good for our community, and you're trying new things for yourself and your new ventures. And that's the kind of person that you want to share and talk to, because it's not about, I'll tell you, audience, we haven't looked at a single note. There's no script. We didn't have any questions about, well, what about that? We just talked. And that's what I knew this would be great, because you do a good job of just engaging and talking.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
No, this was a lot of fun. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming on.